Welcome to San Francisco Sustainable Fashion Week International. My name is Sandra Hans and I am the founder. Today, with great pleasure, we have the representation of Europe with our global team advisor, Catherine Doriac, and a very special guest. So I would like to welcome Orsola de Castro, co-founder and creative director of Fashion Revolution One. Welcome to San Francisco Sustainable Fashion Week International. My name is Sandra Hans and I am the founder. With great pleasure, I would like to introduce to you two amazing people from the, let's see, France is Catherine Doriac and also Orsola de Castro. It's just, I am humble and so happy, ladies, to welcome you to our SFSFWI, and Catherine, give us a little bit of introduce Ms. De Castro, please.
Yes, Orsola, you're the co-founder of Fashion Revolution, the big movement about fashion and workers' rights and advocating for fashion that respects human and the planet. Why do we still need a fashion revolution 8 years after the collapse of Rana Plaza? Can you explain a little bit, please?
Well, yes, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here today. Catherine, I am tempted to say that we need a fashion revolution so that this movement can keep growing, because I have to say that the work that you all country coordinators do, there's over 90 fashion revolution country coordinators all over the world. We are such a family that just for having all of us having met and having this opportunity to work together really continues to inspire the revolution for me. But of course, we need a fashion revolution because things aren't changing fast enough. Because we have seen, particularly during COVID, which has been a bit of a déjà vu for me when it comes to the moment of Rana Plaza, you know, these moments when things are exposed and we really see where the fashion industry is going wrong. And we know that brands are not investing sufficiently, neither in the people who make their clothes, nor in the working conditions and in the environment that we all share. So until we achieve that moment in which we don't need a fashion revolution anymore, which is ultimately where we would like to be, we still need to increase our demands, increase the level of conversation, increase the knowledge, increase the global reach and understanding, increase the points of differences, you know, so that we can hear from everyone that witnesses the fashion revolution in their respective countries. You know, that it's different everywhere, so that we can really achieve the visibility to understand what we need to do. Right now, the fashion industry is deregulated. And when it comes to transparency, although we can claim some big improvements in terms of number of brands becoming more transparent, again, we are nowhere near, for instance, mandatory transparency or transparency beyond tier 1, which is, you know, when it gets really complicated. And all of this information we need and we demand as the customers of those brands. We very much believe in Fashion Revolution that as customers, we have the rights to know, for instance, what's in my clothes. Do the clothes that I wear every day contain toxic substances that may be banned somewhere else, but for some reason they've made their way all the way to the local high street? Do we, you know, we have a real need to know certain informations of the fashion supply chain in order to make the right decisions as customers. I refer to fabrics again, that polyester sheds millions of fibers when we wash it. And, you know, we need to understand how to better take care of our products. It's a conversation. The clothes that we wear every single day need to be made in dignity by people who are fairly paid in an environment that is protected, because ultimately we all share the burden and the impact of an industry that has, frankly, lost all points of contact with reality. We know that we are at a moment of urgency, and this is why we more than ever need a fashion revolution.
Thank you. You recently wrote a book whose Love Clothes Last, which is one of our favorite hashtag in Fashion Revolution. It's all about the clothes we love and their life, the longer life. I read this book as a political and philosophical pamphlet, and it's also a practical guide to clothing autonomy. Can you tell us about the journey, its journey in your mind? How did you write it? Why did you write it? And was it a long journey? Can you tell us?
Yes, well, to start with, I didn't really wake up one morning and think I'm going to write a book. I was contacted by my agent, who contacted me on Instagram actually, and she said, you know, I really would like to commission a book on how to mend. And my reply to her was, well, I don't know how to mend very well. I mean, I've got ideas, but I'm not the best mender. And there are so many brilliant books on mending. I'm thinking Katerina Radabau, one of my heroes, and Kate Sekulis with Visible Mend. So I just really didn't think how I could make a difference. And I said to her, I don't think I can do a how to mend, but I can do a why to mend. And that's my book. And that's why you read it, as you've beautifully put it. Thank you, Catherine, as a political and practical pamphlet. Someone described it as a mixture between a manual and a manifesto. And that was the best description I've ever had for my book, because that's what it is. I mean, for me, mending and repairing is the first step, that entry point that we can all effect. But at the end of the day, it is only an entry point. And if we're talking about repairing our clothes, we also need to talk about reparations of damage. And that's the damage that the fashion industry has had on all of us for hundreds of years. I mean, you know, the fashion industry very deliberately designed itself to be as exploitative and as opaque as it possibly could be. You know, we're talking cotton picked by enslaved people in the American South, processed in London Victorian sweatshop, and then globally distributed by the East India Company. There's nothing ethical nor sustainable about that. So the point for me was to really make a valid point about why this industry needs to change and what we can do. And my entry point was Loved Clothes Last. Loved Clothes Last, when I was a designer, was the way that I described my method for designing. You know, I used to pick up things that nobody wanted, whether it was clothes or fabric, and transform them into something else. And so for me, that was the, you know, it very much describes a method for me, which is, you know, the method of upcycling and reusing, and the poetry and the history and the somehow the irreverence that goes with choosing longevity as your focal point. So this is the book. You know, it's difficult for citizens to really engage in circularity. Circularity is, after all, fiber to fiber, but we can all have a profound effect on the things that we already choose, the things that we already have, and we can create a collective of people who will embrace those same principles if we do so with enthusiasm and with the willingness to really make a change. For me, it's not just about what we can do as individuals, is what society needs to bring back And therefore, it's not just about, taking the decision to mend our clothes. It's just as important to be political and demand that there should be affordable ways to mend our clothes in our society. We are a society that is losing it, but we have plenty of examples throughout the world, in India, in Southeast Asia, where mending and repairing is completely normal, completely still part of the fabric of society. And it is important for me that we reintroduce it in our way of life, in our westernized, fast, speedy, unimaginative, rather boring way of interpreting clothes over the last, however many decades, when everything has been the same. So I see this as an opportunity to understand this industry much more deeply and to develop a sort of a long-term change of habit that is both creative and effective, but above all, that does carry this strong political message of slowing down this industry and, choosing to respect and repair rather than consume and dispose of.
Thank you so much, so inspiring. But I have another question, it will be the last one, about consumption, because in France, for example, we see a lot of brands coming up with upcycling and a lot of e-shop or physical shop about second-hand market. Do you think it's a parenthesis? Do you think it is an overconsumption coming up? In your opinion, are we heading for a calming down in the fashion industry, or is it another overconsumption? For me,
okay, it's both. I mean, I see it as an inevitability in an industry that has been producing approximately 150 billion garments of clothing. Statistics are never correct, they fluctuate. But in 2015, apparently, that was a number that we could look at. So I'm assuming it's only grown. It is inevitable that brands will understand that the secondary market is a fantastic opportunity. We know that the secondary market is growing potentially 10 times faster, they say. Again, statistics are fluctuating until new research comes along, but we know it's growing faster than so-called fast fashion. There is never one solution. And the reason why upcycling is suddenly out all, in terms of our understanding of it is because, rather cynically, brands are beginning to see it as an opportunity. Upcycling is a massive slowdowner of things, which is why brands have not been embracing this on an industrial level, on an upscaled level until now. Now they have to, because to a certain extent, upcycling is also one of the most scrutinizable of the greenwashes. It's very easy to understand. Are you or are you not? Is this made from secondhand or is this made from new? You can see it, you can photograph it, you can somehow record it. So the idea of buying something secondhand is saying, I am deliberately choosing not to buy something new. And in itself, it's a political act. It's speak. The more we can recognize a piece of upcycled clothing, it acts just like a slogan t-shirt. It's interesting that when it comes to fashion, upcycling is as old as time. I mean, we learned how to repair and mend the second we learned how to make. And when we are looking at fashion movements, I mean, really upcycling as the new it thing? Can somebody take a look at punk for a minute and tell me what was that? If not upcycling, punk kids, though, the difference, I guess, they didn't wake up in the morning and go to H&M to buy their skinny trousers. They learned how to take them in themselves. Yeah. But in an age of fast fashion and the reality that we can, throw away before we transform, upcycling is extremely important. Upcycling, reusing, and mending, especially to defy this dangerous narrative that we've seen over the last 20, 30 years, which is, sorry, fast fashion is so badly made that it doesn't warrant being mended. I can't think of anything more negative, more dangerous, more diseducational than this narrative that has somehow permeated all of Western society, somehow giving people permission to buy something, wear it twice, and get rid of it. And God bless young TikTokers who are instinctively repairing and hacking and butchering their own cheap clothing to resell them or to rewear them. So its function in the future of fashion is incredibly important for two reasons. One, because it speaks really loudly. Two, because it's a technique. And as a technique, it can be transported. So we could actually turn upcycling into a new, very effective craft. Upcycling could be reused in exactly those countries in the world which we drown with our own waste, with our unwanted clothing. And at the end of the day, it allows everyone to put down their signature. You know, it is a technique that inspires creativity, that inspires individualism, that inspires new things. And my opinion is that what we need to do is to look at the word new and really define it. What is new to you? Because if you take something old and you change it completely, and then it comes back to you, well, that to me is new. So it's a whole reevaluation of how we interpret things. And this glorious concept of, in my opinion, upcycling being there for the love of small things, for wanting to retain things, for wanting to keep things longer and giving them another life.
Yes. Well, it is really true. The inspiration that comes across Orsola. What I would like to say is that to bring the inspiration to others around the world, the way fashion revolution has done it, the way you and Carrie they have done it. It requires something more than just to say, oh, we're going to do a nonprofit that is going to go global. So it requires really being connected to yourself, connected as a human being, to see how can we make a difference for what happened in Rana Plaza, and how can we make a difference for those group of people that really that people that never were, no one point fingers at them before. They were ignored for who knows how many decades and hundreds of years, and suddenly we have a couple amazing women that they become completely devoted to the apparel industry workers that they have been ignored, like I said, for decades and hundreds of years. So it's remarkable the work that you have done. And what I see is that inspiring people, now that we are all in the movement, you have brought in louder that message. You have brought it. I mean, everybody now about upcycling. It's very common to have a secondhand store, and that as a business, that women say, yes, I'm going to have a secondhand store, and then people just go and find amazing garments that they can refresh their closet and just do it in a circular manner, right? So I donate my clothes and then I buy clothes from there. And then we are going to reconnect as we are as human beings, especially children, that they are with that electronic device in their hand. How about if they can start crocheting? How about if they start mending and we teach them, right? So that's what you're doing, reintroducing. So I'm just so delighted to hear that your work now is getting really louder, and for all of us to follow your leadership, and we have been doing that. And so in San Francisco Sustainable Fashion Week International, I offer a platform for all of those professionals in the fashion industry and in the clean beauty industry to come and share, as you are sharing your story and your opinion and your views, and what's your vision, and what you see that the fashion industry is going to come from, where are we going in the fashion industry. So thank you. Catherine?
Want to thank you, but I do need to stress. I would like to thank you too, but I would also like to stress that really Fashion Revolution is a movement born of a hell of a lot more people than me and Carrie. And I think that Carrie, I thank you also on her behalf, but I do feel that it is very important that we don't focus just on, the inspiration that maybe we provided, but on the people that were inspired. To me, they are the ones that really, really matter, because it takes more guts to follow and to really commit the way that all of our country coordinators have around the globe. And the strength of Fashion Revolution is 100% our global network, our country coordinators such as Catherine. So this is really what makes Fashion Revolution special, and I will never stop thanking all of you that have taken part. But thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate it, and have a really successful San Francisco Sustainable Fashion Week. It was a pleasure to be involved.
Thank you, Orsola. Thank you. Thank you,
Ciao,
Sandra.
Katrina.
Thank you so very much.
Ciao, Sandra. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
So,
thank you so much.
It's okay.
Hello, Catherine.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes.
She's great. She's great. She's perfect.
Thank you so much. And, it's such how can I say, for me here, it's 6:30 in the morning. Paris is around mid-afternoon, and being able to, to have a conversation with Orsola de Castro directly from the UK is just such an amazing pleasure. So, Catherine, thank you to you for the work that you do. We are recording. Yes. Okay. So, because I wanted to finish it up with you.
Okay.
So, Catherine, thank you. You are part of the global team advisor for San Francisco Sustainable Fashion Week. And coming up next, we have your team join us. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a little break and we'll come back.
Okay, bye-bye. See you.
Thanks.